Okay, welcome to Mostly Sapphic Books, where I am on a mission to read every single book about lesbians. Today we're doing another random reading wrap-up. These are books that I've read in the last month or two that I didn't have a lot to say about, but there's a lot of them. Some of them are short stories, some of them are novellas, some of them are like graphic novels. So there's a lot of books here. Let's just get started. First off, I read The Knight and the Butcherbird by Alix E. Harrow. This is a short story that's like a fantasy dystopia. It's sort of set in America. It's like a fantasy version of our world, and it was really cool. I really love the world building. It's about a knight who comes to this village to slay a monster. But in this world, the monsters are people who have turned into weird shape-shifting creatures. I think there's like some implications of radiation, if I remember correctly. People get sick and kind of lose their minds and, grow weird body parts and feathers and horns and all that jazz. And so the monster this knight is hunting is actually the wife of our other main character, which is this, I believe she's 17, and they are married, but again, it's like a dystopian wasteland where people die pretty young, and so getting married at 17 isn't that big of a deal. She feels older than she is, and it's because she has this sort of hard, rustic kind of life. But her wife has turned into this creature, and she is going to kill the knight, so the knight does not kill her wife. But the knight has some secrets of his own, and is also like a worthy adversary to her. They're sort of not adversaries, they sort of become like a mentor-mentee relationship. He's seen a lot of things, he's guiding her, he really like admires her charisma. They sort of get along, even if they kind of hate each other. It's this really interesting, almost father-daughter dynamic, and I really like that. I like the way they played off of each other. I liked this world, because I think his title is like Sir John of Cincinnati or something, and there's references to like the King of Chicago. So like we're in America, but in this weird fantasy landia version of America. It's really like funny and weird and not at all what I was expecting. I was just expecting some sort of more traditional fantasy story. I didn't really know anything about this going into it. This is the first Alix E. Harrow story I've read, and I know she has a lot of books, and I hear almost exclusively good things about her books. I think she does have some queer ones as well, so I will definitely try to read those. I imagine they're pretty good. I really like this. I gave it 5 stars. It surprised me. I thought it was like interesting. I thought it was a unique little take on a fantasy story. I really like the characters, I like their motivations, I like their backstories. This was just really good. Then I read a novel called Bright Lines by Tanwi Nandini Islam. This is about a Bangladeshi immigrant family living in New York City. I think the dad was like the most complex character here. He's got a lot going on. His immigration story, and then his brother has shown up. And then one of the main characters is the niece of this family who gets taken in and is living with her uncle and her aunt and her cousins. She has a crush on her cousin, but her cousin is a straight girl, and she's got some boy she's dating, but that boy is involved with like a drug dealer that the dad is also involved with. And then the girls have a friend who's another queer woman. And then I think the lesbian who has a crush on her cousin actually comes out as a trans man at the end of the story. I didn't love this. It sounds like it's got a lot going on, and that'd be interesting. It does kind of have a lot going on, because we switch perspectives a lot, and then we're sort of jumping from country to country. This wasn't for me. I found this kind of boring. I didn't really like any of these characters. I don't think you're like supposed to love them all. They definitely all have flaws, like intentionally. I didn't like some of the writing. I remember like the girl with the boyfriend. She just felt like a really cliche sort of rebellious teenage girl. I don't know. This didn't do it for me. I was bored. I didn't care about any of these people really. I don't remember the story very well. It went in one ear and out the other. I've already forgotten this. I read this like probably over a month ago, but it's gone. It's gone. I'm never gonna remember this book. I gave it 2 stars because I think someone else will like it. I think it's a me thing that I just wasn't interested. I didn't like the characters. Someone else might. I reserve 1 stars typically for books that have giant plot holes or just are excessively bad. And this was just real boring, so not for me. Then I read Nobody's Baby by Olivia Waite. This is the second novella in the Dorothy Gentleman series. I really liked the first one, and I liked this one as well. I don't know that I liked it more. I don't know that I liked it significantly less. My favorite thing about this series is the world building, the lore, the sci-fi. These are people on a spaceship. They're traveling from Earth to somewhere else, but that journey will take like hundreds and hundreds of years. And obviously, a human cannot complete that journey in one lifespan. And so they're all immortalized. They're put into like books that they can be reborn from. It's this whole really cool sci-fi system that's like an immortal utopia. No one wants for anything, and everyone has a room, and everyone has food, and then they all have like shops. Like you could set up a little shop for your hobby if you wanted. There's a woman who owns like a yarn store. That's something to do for extra funsies. It's this really cool utopian spaceship. It's really good, like cozy sci-fi feel good vibes. The plot of this one is our main character, her gay nephew, and his gay boy husband partner. Her gay nephews discover a baby, and there's no babies on this ship. And the whole mystery is like, where did this baby come from? How did this baby happen? Because they're supposed to be infertile, because you can't have increased population on this ship. Like, there's a limited capacity. Again, they're not like stressed for resources ever, but like, I don't know. They're really concerned with like the rooms because everyone has their own house. But you know, if everyone starts having babies, they're gonna run out of room real quick, and so like everyone's infertile, except apparently not because someone had a baby. And then it's the mystery of like, where did this baby come from, and also what do we do with it? Do we just accept it as another passenger and like give it immortal life, or do we just like leave it as a human and let it live out its natural lifespan, and then it's dead? What do you do with the baby? And also, who abandoned this baby? And are there more babies? And like, do we like? Well, we gotta figure out what's going on. So our main character is a detective. She's an older woman. I think she's in a younger woman's body because she's been reborn. I forget. In the first book, she wakes up in like the wrong body. I forget what happens in the first book entirely. But again, the charm of this is really like the world, this cool utopian spaceship. And I think I liked the mystery of this one a lot. Like it's more straightforward. I don't remember the mystery of the first one very well. I think there's a murder, and she's in the wrong body, and so she has to figure out like what body she's in, who got murdered, and then also you have to introduce the lore of the spaceship. This book introduces some new lore and like some new details, but you've already sort of established like the setting, and so maybe you can focus just more on this single mystery. I think every book in this series will be single mysteries. I don't know how many books there would be, but like presumably you could do this for a long time. And in this one we do have a lesbian detective, like our main character. I believe she's a lesbian. She doesn't get like a lot of romance in either of these books so far, but she does have a lover, and two of the women like involved in this specific mystery of like who the baby could be, like, are a queer couple. There's plenty of gay people in this, so this is a fun little cozy sci-fi series. I really like it. Again, this didn't blow me away, but I'm still really enjoying it. So it's like a solid 4-star kind of book. I definitely recommend the series, and you should start with the first book. Don't start with this one. Then I did a nostalgia read. This does not have lesbians in it at all. This is the graphic novel adaptation of the first book in the Chronicles of Vladimir Todd series, which is 8th Grade Bites. This is a YA series that came out when I was a kid that's about a half vampire. He has his human best friend who knows he's a vampire. He has his human aunt who he lives with who takes care of him and knows he's a vampire. His parents mysteriously died, and was that an accident or were they murdered? He has a creepy new teacher who's suspicious what's going on with him. The sort of vampire world is like sort of looking for him because he's a weird freak of nature, because he's half human and half vampire, and that's not supposed to happen. And then there's a prophecy about a half human, half vampire, and like what's going on there. And so as he sort of comes of age, he's also learning about this vampire world and getting caught up in his history and his legacy and his nature, and is he human, is he a vampire, and all that jazz. It's a really classic like mid 2000s vampire story. There were a lot of these, and I really liked this one as a kid. I might have been in 8th grade when that 8th grade Bites book came out. I have 4 out of 5 of them, so there's 5 books in the series, 8 through 12. I'm missing year 11. I must have borrowed that book from a friend, because I definitely did read all of these. I think I read the first one a couple of times, actually. I really liked it. Do you guys remember these covers? Do you guys remember this? These were iconic. Do you guys remember the smiley face vampire? Oh my god. I wanted a tattoo of that as a kid. Also, I'm looking at this now and realizing that this doesn't have the title or the author name. It has the Chronicles of Vladimir on it. So it has the series. But the title is actually on the back. That's interesting. But these really were so iconic that if you were like 14 when this came out, you're like, I know what that is. And then the covers were so like consistent and recognizable. And like, these were great. These were great as like a series. I can't hold 4 books at once, guys. Like you knew what this was. You knew it. This is great cover design. Very consistent. Very cool. Everyone has a different color. I forget what color year 11 is. It might be like orange. I kind of want the 11th book now. Or the 4th book, year 11 now. Because then I'd have the whole set. Even though I don't know that I'm ever going to reread this. And I also don't know if it's good. So what I just read recently was the graphic novel adaptation for this, which I didn't know existed. And there's a reason for that, and it's because it's not fantastic, and they only did the first 2 books. I imagine the initial plan was to do a graphic novel adaptation of all 5 books, and they only got the first 2. I'll probably read the second, even though the first wasn't good, just to complete the series and say I've read all of the books in the series. But the first one was sort of disappointing, and some of that does come from the graphic novelness of it. I didn't think this art style was amazing. It's fine. There's like some weird perspective stuff, like literally in the drawings, like the angles look off sometimes. I don't know how to draw anything. I can barely draw stick people, so I don't know what I'm talking about and I can't explain it. But some of the drawings just look off. And then there were also moments where information gets told to you in like the dialogue bubbles, but it's not shown to you on the page. I'm like, this is a graphic novel. You could literally show me the pictures of those things. Why are you just telling me about them? So I didn't think the art was incredible, and I think there were also some pacing issues. I kind of forget what I was gonna say about the pacing, or like what I thought of it. Because at first it was like, it was a lot. There's a lot going on, but it is condensing a whole book into one, like, very pretty short graphic novel. This is a pretty short book. Like, it's not that big. 182 pages of a little YA novel, arguably middle grade, because he's in 8th grade. And the graphic novel is shorter than that. But I think it was also like, it was like so action-packed that it actually felt longer by the end of it, because a lot of shit's happening. But there were moments that were the writing's problem. Like there's a moment really early on where they're talking about this girl they liked, Vlad and his bro Henry. They're talking about some girl. He's like, she'll kiss anyone. And so there's like, you know, some good 2008 slut shaming in here. They make fun of the bully for doing ballet because he doesn't want his friends to know that he's a ballet dancer. You know, some things that maybe wouldn't be written now. Some signs of the times. And I have to guess that comes from the book. They probably say those things in the book. Which isn't like fantastic. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world. It's not good. But you kind of expect that out of something from 2008. So I don't know how well these would hold up if I read them as a 30-year-old woman. I don't know if the pacing's absolutely wacko in this as well. But it is a YA novel. I don't know. These are fun. I have fond memories of these. And I do kind of want the 4th book just because then I have the whole set. Even though I have 2 hardbacks and then 2 paperbacks, so we're already out of sync. I don't really care about that. Some people really care about that. I don't really care. I kind of care that on the hardbacks, the 5th book has a 5N on it. So you know that that's the 5th book in the series. But the 4th book doesn't have that. And so did they only start putting numbers on the last book? Why would you do that? A little late for that one. I do like the 5. That makes sense. But where's the 4? Oh, interesting. I've never taken these covers off. I've never taken these off. I can tell you with beyond a shadow of a doubt that I absolutely never took off a dust jacket from a book in my entire youth. because I did not know how to fucking get them back on. I think this is fucked up. I don't think it's supposed to look like that. Like, it should be green. You can see, like, this stamped it wrong. Like, the eyes are, I don't know what's happening there. I'm not convinced that's intentional. That doesn't look intentional to me. So I have a cool misprint error copy of this book. Yeah, you got the 5 there. This looks cool. I like the foil. I'm gonna look at all these now. I only have 2. Oh, this one doesn't have anything on the cover. It's got the spine. No 4. I like the purple though. It's a nice color. I don't know what you could see that. It's a really deep purple. I think it only shows up on the camera like in the light, which makes it look a little lighter than it is. Whatever. But I wish it had the smiley on it. That was the best part. Maybe they weren't good at making those smileys. They didn't perfect it by the 5th book, so maybe it's good they didn't try. Or maybe if they had tried sooner, they would have gotten it right by the 5th book. I think I am gonna add these to my shelf. I had these in the closet. I have a box of books in my closet that's just like random shit that I had when I was younger, or like books that I'm never gonna read or never gonna read again. I might put these up. These are kind of cool. They're a good memory. I like that I have the set. They have cool designs. I like this shit. They can go on the shelf down here where you can't see them. They're there. Then I read another graphic novel, This Place Kills Me by Mariko Tamaki. I've read 3 books by this author. I don't remember loving any of them. I think this is the person who wrote Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me. I think that one was probably my favorite. I don't remember it well. I gave it 3 stars. I gave another one of their books 3 stars called Skim. I don't think I ever talked about that. I read that. I feel like I would give this 2 stars retroactively. I don't really remember the story super well. This cover's horrendous. This book is about sad goth girls. Would you know that from this cover? Absolutely fucking not. Not even a little bit. Horrendous cover. What is this? Why? What? This is not a book about sad goth teenage girls. Except it is. That's literally what it's about. Incredibly weird cover design choice. This one is also a book about vaguely goth teenage girls. I don't remember this well. I had to reread the description of this to remember what the hell was going on here, because I didn't love this. I gave this 2 stars, so I guess it was my least favorite. At least least favorite upon immediate read. This is about a girl at this school who kills herself, except they don't know if it's suicide or murder. Our main character seems to think it was murder, and like she's the only one and she's investigating it. I forget who's gay. It might have been the dead girl. I don't remember. I think I remember who the villain is. I won't spoil it. I didn't care. This was nothing. I don't know. I don't know that I love this author. I guess it's not the worst things I've ever read because I keep reading books by them. I have almost nothing to say about this. I feel like I had trouble keeping the characters straight, because there were a couple that looked the same, like all the blonde girls. Like I thought one of the blonde girls was the girl that killed herself, but it was the other blonde girl, and she wasn't dead. Maybe I'm dumb. This one wasn't for me. Then another graphic novel, Rhiannon by Kiara Brinkman and Chiki. I say on this channel that my mission is to read every single book about lesbians, which is obviously impossible, but that's the beauty of the goal. However, I do have a secondary goal, which is to read every graphic novel about lesbians that my library has, and I think we're getting close to achieving that. I think the only ones I haven't read are so minorly queer that they sort of go under the radar. Like if I look up queer graphic novels, they're not on the list, and this kind of applies to this book. This is about some kids who live in this little city. I want to say trailer park. I don't actually know if it's a trailer park. I think it's like, I don't know. There's a bunch of old people. I don't think it's a retirement home either. They live in this little city in the desert. Is it in the desert? Whatever. Our main character, Rhiannon, she lives with her grandma, and her grandma's gay. But like that's a very minor story, and also a really tragic story. She was in love with her best friend, like way back when they were girls, and then her best friend was gonna marry this man. But before she married the man, she went on like a bachelorette girls trip, like, with her gal pal, the grandma. So they went to like the beach together, and they had like a week where they could actually be together and be free, and then that lady drowned. She died. I thought it was going to be a story where like the love of her life married a man and, you know, couldn't do it, couldn't be out, couldn't be true to herself, and then they just lost touch. No, that bitch died in the ocean. So that's a tragic little gay storyline that's going on in the background. That's kind of spoilers. That happens towards the end, but really it's about the daughter. She has this best friend, this guy. He's come back. Like, she doesn't see him all the time. Like, he comes to visit his grandma during the summer. They clearly have some kind of relationship. And then there's some new girl in town. She's living with her grandma for the summer. And she's like a cool punk rock city chick. But she's pregnant. And so we have a lot of issues of like teen pregnancy here. I actually did really like this. Like, it's a good book. It's well written. I really liked the characters. It's just not super gay. I don't know if you'll like it, but if you like good, like, pretty deep YA with like good themes, like important themes for kids to read, I think kids would really connect to some of these characters. Solid little YA novel about coming of age. Then another short story, Undercover by Tamsyn Muir. I actually don't know if I would call this a short story. It's pretty long for a short story, but it's also pretty short for a novella, so I don't know what this is. It's kind of a novella. I'm gonna pitch it as a novella because it's a very expansive story and there's tons of twists. It's so good. Tamsyn Muir is so good, you guys. Did you guys know that Tamsyn Muir is a good writer? I'm kind of mad I didn't read this sooner, but it was on sale when I bought it. That's why I waited. It's only like $1.99 on Kindle. This was some like weird short story collection. You buy the stories individually, but I think it's offered by Amazon like exclusively. They got a bunch of artists, like big name sci-fi fantasy writers, to write this weird sci-fi fantasy collection. I don't know what's going on. I only read this one. I think there's one from Alix Harrow, which is probably good, but I've only read this one. This fucking rocked. There's all kinds of twists. Some of them you see coming, some of them you don't. It's this really cool fucking weird world. I don't know. We're second world fantasy. We're on like different planets, and they sort of have like more technology than us, but it's also got the vibes of like the 1920s flapper girls and like gangster mob stuff going on. Our main character is an undercover police officer who is getting a job as a bodyguard for this big mafia woman who's a lesbian, as well as our main character, I think. I don't remember books very well, guys. But I couldn't make a full video on this because there's so many like cool twists, and so I just don't have a lot to talk about. But the vibes are incredible. And then the twist here, it's not just like a mob story. There's also zombies. So like people turn into like different types of zombies, and like the police are into that, and then the lady, the boss lady, like can like utilize the zombies. I don't want to spoil anything. But one of the other main characters is like a flapper girl, a singer, a lounge singer who works for this mafia lady, and she's a zombie, but she's like a high level of zombie where like she can talk and sing and like sort of dance, but like in a weird zombie way. And so she's like the main attraction at like this nightclub the mafia lady owns. It's really interesting. And our main character's like job as the bodyguard is to like guard this zombie and like watch her and make sure she doesn't like eat everybody, you know. She will eat people, but it's really cool. It's just incredible worlds. Tamsyn Muir is so good at writing these like weirdly complex worlds, and this is just a novella, and so like the fact that so much like thought and creative energy went into that is so cool, and the characters are cool, and the twists are cool, and it was awesome. I loved it. 5 stars. Tamsyn Muir, please come home from war. I miss you. Then I read this little poetry chapbook, which is very cute and looks like a psalm book. This is A Book of Queer Prayer by J. Orlando. Full disclosure, I am friends with this guy, but I met him through writing. We met on a writing forum. I think he's an incredible talent. I'm not even a big poetry person, and I really, really like this. I'm sort of picky with poetry, and I don't like a lot of poetry. He has another chapbook called A Tangled Lineage, which I also really liked. And this is sort of exactly what it sounds like. He's a trans author, him wrestling with his transition and also his religiosity, his spirituality, how those two things conflict and combine and make something different and new, and the way people perceive him, and the way like the religious people in his life perceive his transition, and his queerness. I'm not good at talking about poetry because I'm not a poet, and again, I'm picky with poetry, and it's not my specialty, but this is really good, and, like, really accessible, and actually really deep and, like, understandable, and I love that. And A Tangled Lineage is about, like, his family. He has a dead mom, stuff about that, stuff about growing up in Appalachia, and, like, being connected to the land, but also being a queer person in Appalachia, and, like, all of his family drama, and, like, it's just really good. It's really beautiful writing. He's also very nerdy. There's, like, weird poems in this. There's a poem in this called Like Fox Mulder, I Want to Believe. He can be funny as well, but it's also really deep and just really well written. And so if you want to support a small-time poet, I recommend J. Orland, A Book of Queer Prayer. Then I read We Came to Welcome You by Vincent Tirado. I was on a Vincent Tirado kick lately. I read 3 books by them. 2 of the books got their own videos. I'll link those or not, whatever. You can look it up on my channel. This one, I didn't have a lot to say about, but it was probably my favorite, actually. I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. This was solid. It's about a lesbian couple who moves into this gated community, and the homeowners association is weird. And there's, like, weird, possibly ghost children running around the streets. And all the houses are exactly the same. Like, they have the exact same curtains and the exact same interior design and decor and, like, couches and live, laugh, love signs. And they move in, and the homeowners association is really pressuring them to join the homeowners association. And it's obviously fucking creepy, and our main character's having weird dreams. It's pretty classic suburban horror, to be honest. I don't think there's a lot new here or interesting. This feels like a sort of typical run-of-the-mill average horror movie about the subject. It's not super horrific. There's actually a lot going on. This author wrote another book called You Should Have Been Nicer to My Mom, which is, like, a contemporary gothic horror about a family in a house. Nothing happens in that book, and there's supposedly a demon in the house that they have to kill. They have, like, 12 hours to kill a demon, and nothing fucking happens. That book's boring as hell. This book, a lot happens, but it's never, like, giant events. I think some people called this boring, or, like, not as horrific or suspenseful as they wanted, but it's just, like, all these little things that seem weird, or, like, don't add up, or, like, she discovers history about the house, or, like, the neighbors, just all of these little weird things going on. And so something is always happening, and I liked that, because coming from You Should Have Been Nicer to My Mom, which was fucking boring, at least something was happening. It wasn't the most exciting things in the world, but something was always happening. I appreciated that. Ironically, even though I said this was my favorite, this might be the lowest rated Vincent Tirado book on Goodreads. This has a 3.05, which is fucking horrendous. That doesn't sound bad, that's genuinely the rating I gave it, but, like, on Goodreads, if your book has below a 3.5, you're fucked. Critically panned garbage. So other people did not like this book. This has 3 times more 2-star reviews than it does 5-star reviews. Not a winner, which I kind of understand because it's not really anything new. The newest thing about this is that we have a butch black lesbian protagonist, and she has a Korean wife, and so there's, like, the interracial gay aspect of this, of them being a very different family than any of the other families in this homeowners association, which is mostly white. There's one other gay couple, it's 2 white gay guys. So they feel very othered, and our main character especially. She's also not, like, the most likable main character, but, like, I sympathize with her. You get where she's coming from most of the time. You're not really supposed to like her. She's, like, a pessimistic alcoholic who's sort of just been not laid off from her job, but she's on, like, probation. She's in trouble. She's been accused of doing something that she didn't do. Also, this character, she's like a research scientist at Yale. So she has a PhD, she's super smart. You don't ever see that in the book, I'm gonna be honest. Actually, there's a lot of moments in this book where she's like, I'm not a neurologist, I'm not a botanist, I'm not a brain surgeon. But, like, she is a molecular research or biological researcher. I forget what she does. But, like, she does something smart. And at no point in this book are you like, wow, this woman is, like, really, like, scientifically smart and analytical and super duper educated, and like she just doesn't know shit. She's not, like, overly dumb, she just feels like anyone else. But there was nothing about this character that screams smart, even though arguably something about this character should have screamed smart if she was a research scientist at Yale. I feel like the author just kind of gave her that job. And then, I don't know. I don't think this author knows what... I don't know what a research scientist at Yale does. I forget her job. Molecular research. I don't know. Or she studies parasites specifically. It does say that. Which you'd think would give parallels to, like, the weird homeowners association hive mind cult thing going on here. But she doesn't really make a lot of connections with that, like, to her job. I get why people don't like this, but I liked it, mostly, to be honest. It was fine. I got through it. It didn't bore me to death. I liked one other Vincent Tirado book, which was Burn Down, Rise Up, but it's very YA, and so it kind of has, like, this mediocre writing style that's just not my taste as a 30-year-old woman. And so I liked that this was an adult novel. It's straightforward. It's not impressive. It's not fantastic. It's not really anything new, but it was better than this author's other books, so that's a win for me. Then I read Pasta Girls by Taylor Tracy. This is a middle grade novel about 13-year-olds. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but Romeo and Juliet are two daughters of two warring Italian restaurants in Little Italy in New York City, which sounds silly as hell. And it is, but, like, low-key this kind of works. It's kind of cute. This actually got cuter as it went along. Usually it's the opposite. Like, you start a middle grade novel, or I start a middle grade novel, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a kid's book for kids. I see what's going on. I see what it's going for. And then over the course of the novel, I'm like, I wish I wasn't reading a kid's book for kids right now. But this one, actually, I sort of, like, grew to like their relationship even more. Because they're, like, 13 and 14, it's really, like, idealized and sweet. And so, like, oh, they're a cute couple. One of them is autistic, and one of them has ADHD. And so they're both neurodivergent and, like, helping each other and understanding each other. This book is centered around this big, like, festival, culinary festival that happens in Little Italy every year at this time of year, and our autistic character has never been. She doesn't like the big crowds, like the loud noises, but she wants to push herself and do hard things and learn to do more things, and her love interest helps her do that and helps her cope with, like, the crowds and stuff. So it's actually really cute, the way they look out for each other. Why is this a Romeo and Juliet retelling? I don't know, but it's genuinely a Romeo and Juliet retelling. It's not just, you know, a star-crossed lovers kind of thing. One of the characters is named Romea instead of Romeo, and then the other is Jules. One of them goes to Verona High School. They both have, like, cousins, and then they get in, like, little fights that mirror, like, the fights in Romeo and Juliet. It's like, it's genuinely like a Romeo and Juliet retelling with lots of elements. Not like one for one, someone dies at the end of this, but, like, it was intentionally Romeo and Juliet inspired. Why? I couldn't tell you. Maybe kids like Romeo and Juliet are, like, 13-year-olds reading that in school and loving it. I've read it in school at some point. Or I was assigned to read it, and then I gave up because Shakespeare's it's a fucking different language. That's my unpopular bookish opinion, is Shakespeare. Overrated. Why are we still teaching Shakespeare? If half of your lines have to be explained off to the side, it's not legible. We might as well be teaching, like, really good award-winning Swedish books, and then just putting the translation on the side. And translating, like, every other sentence. Not all of them. We don't need to give context for all of this Swedish book. Just figure it out. I don't know. But some people really do like Shakespeare. Some kids are really into Shakespeare. Maybe, like, theater kids. I don't know. Maybe that's what the kids are into these days. I think that's what we've been forcing the kids to be into for the last 500 years, actually. Couldn't be me. Maybe they like the movies. One of these characters is named Leo. I'm gonna assume that's after Leonardo DiCaprio. That's cute. This was actually cute. I actually liked this. And it made me want pasta. They cook a lot of pasta. And also, like, Italian food and, like, sweets. It made me hungry. And it was cute. So, you know what? Not a bad book at all. If you're into middle grade novels. Probably not a lot of you. I like reading books about gay 12-year-olds because there were no books about gay 12-year-olds when I was a gay 12-year-old who wanted books about gay 12-year-olds. So I'm happy for the kids today. They got options. Good for them. Then I read Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle, which is not one of his funny books. I think I like his funny books better. This is the first Chuck Tingle I've read. This is about a woman, a girl. She's 20, but she's still in high school because she lives in this weird, very religious town that's basically a cult. And so they take like a couple of years off to like, I don't know, do work with the Lord, and then they resume high school when they're like 20 years old. But another big like attraction in this town is they have the most successful gay conversion therapy camp in the United States with a 100% success rate. And we find out that's because they're using demons. There's a bunch of demons in this book related to the camp and like scaring people away from being gay and like brainwashing people. I liked the twists in this, so I won't talk about it too much. Really, there's some twists early on about like who our main character is and what she's been through. Again, I can't really talk about it without spoiling anything, but I did kind of like this main character. She's also autistic, and she doesn't say that till the end of the book, but like you can kind of tell. She has a lot of like stims and like fidgets. I actually thought maybe she was OCD. She likes to count a lot in her head, and like she's very like analytical, and like even when she reads something, like she does a lot of research into just like in anything that interests her. And her parents are like, you need to have more faith. You don't need to learn things and be intelligent. You need to just believe them. But she wants to understand how things work. And I liked her as a character. She's sort of abrasive, and at the beginning of the novel, like she's grown up in this religious cult. She is very religious, and she like has all of these Bible verses memorized. She's definitely like a strong voice of a character. However, a lot of this was just kind of boring to me. I don't know. Some of the twists were good, but I don't know. It feels like for a lot of the book, nothing. I mean, things are happening, but I didn't care that things were happening. I don't know why I just didn't connect with this at all. It didn't win me over. I wasn't excited to see where it was going. I liked the initial twists, but then there's not like a lot of twists after the fact, or like in like the big climactic moments or anything. But eventually she realizes she's gay, and then she's gonna take down this weird gay conversion therapy camp that is hurting people. I know Chuck Tingle has some other like serious books that were like nominated for awards and stuff as well. I'll probably read a couple of those. A couple of them have lesbians or bi women. I'd really like to read some of his funny books. I think I'll like those better because I think those will just be like really funny and interesting. This book was not funny at all. It's just like, I don't know. It's a little bit boring, but I don't know. It shouldn't be boring, so I don't know why I found it boring. I can't explain it to you well, but it was fine. It's like 3 stars. I don't know. If you're really into like conversion therapy stories, maybe you'll like it. But it's not like super horrific. It's sort of like YA kind of horror, even though our main character's 20. It's not like super graphic, not like super demonic, super creepy or anything like that. So it's just kind of tame. I don't know. It was fine. Now, on to our last book. I told you it was a lot of books. Our last book is Cosmic Dyke Patrol by Lore Gislason. I probably didn't say that right. I'm sorry. This is a little novella. I think it's from like a small press. You can kind of tell just like in the writing quality. And it didn't have a lot of reviews, but it's a really fun idea. So it's basically like queer Ghostbusters. Oh, but they aren't busting ghosts. It's about a lesbian couple who tracks down like these supernatural creatures, and they're not ghosts. They're like made up for this book and this world, and there's like all kinds of different ones, and they all have different threat levels and like different names and stuff. There's sort of a lot going on here, and I really liked all of those elements, but because it's just a novella, we don't get like super deep insight into any of those singular elements really. We also get lots of perspective shifts and time jumps. This book jumps around in time a lot, actually. But basically the heart of the book is you have a lesbian couple who are these cosmic exterminators, and they end up doing a job for this person named Stevie, who has a weird creature in their basement, and who also has a very strained relationship with their mother, who doesn't accept them for being queer. And then they sort of befriend Stevie, take Stevie home with them, where they live with Marcy's aunt, Marcy and Harriet has. Lots of these people have nicknames. They live together with Marcy's aunt, Kathy, who was a tree lady. She's turning into a tree. She's literally stuck on the couch, and like her roots go into the basement. She's a tree. So they take Stevie, and also the creature that they took from, like, Stevie's house is this little, like, goo blob with one eyeball in it now. I really liked that character. I feel like I really am drawn to characters that are, like, weird little funny creatures who don't know what's going on but have good hearts and good intentions and are going to be, like, best friends slash romantic interests for some of the characters in the book by the end of it. I'm thinking, like, Mr. Scratch in the Scratch Daughters, who is an ink blob. I love him. Or, to an extent, Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell, that has a shape-shifting monster who's, like, the main character, who, like, falls in love with this human woman and, like, doesn't know anything about humans. I like a fun little monster guy. We get also flashbacks into, like, what Kezi, the little eyeball monster, was in, like, the other dimension before they got sucked into the human dimension. They were, like, a weird bird creature. Like, they see ostriches on TV, and it's like, that's me. I looked like that. Lots going on here, and I think all of that's really cool. We don't get to see, like, a lot of it, or, like, get really in-depth with, like, all of the potential of this world, because there's, like, infinite potential, right? If we're opening, like, portals to other universes and other creatures, like, there's infinite potential in that. There's not enough room to explore that to its full extent in any book. But the little eyeball monster becomes friends with them and starts a romantic relationship with Stevie. You know, things happen. There's a bit of monster fucking in this book. Didn't expect that, but it's kind of cute in a weird way. I like a weird little guy. Not really a monster boyfriend, monster girlfriend kind of person. But you know, I liked it here. And then the conflict is, like, that portal in Stevie's basement is still open, and, like, there's a big monster that was chasing Kezi, the eyeball monster, like, before they got sucked in here. And then that monster could come out of the portal and, you know, attack the human world. So they have to stop that. So I like all of the things that are going on here. And I liked learning about the characters' backstories and, like, how they met each other. There's a lot of, like, good queerness in this. There's a lot of trans characters. I liked the found family aspect of this. Of just, like, this group of weird queer people and their tree ant and their little eyeball monster. And they love each other. They're best friends slash lovers. Polycule? You know, this could go a lot of ways. And I'm in support of all of them. I enjoyed this. I do just think the writing suffered because it had so much to do. And it jumps around so much. And you have to get the backstories, and you have to get the other world backstories, and you have to get, you know, the foreshadowing of what's gonna happen at the end of the book, and you have to get, you know, the monster world building stuff in there. And then there's just a lot going on. The jumps aren't really confusing because each chapter is pretty short and, like, tells you who's speaking, so, like, you know what's happening when. But it does feel very fast-paced, and I think, like, some of the writing quality suffers a little bit from that. So it's just not the most polished story in the world, but it's got good bones, and it was a good little fun time. Great title, great characters, good premise. You know, it was pretty good. It was like a 3-star kind of read. Don't go in expecting too much, just go in expecting to have some fun, and I think you'll have some fun. And then I might as well talk about it. Let's add another book. I'm currently reading a short story collection called Terminal Boredom by Izumi Suzuki. I'm over halfway through. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't think this one is for me. I don't think this was written for me. This was written in, like, the 70s or the 80s by a Japanese woman who was either a famous, like, musician or actress or something, celebrity, and then she killed herself in the 80s. She's like, I feel like I would need to read more about this person to, like, understand what she was trying to say in this. So it's like a speculative short story collection, and it's just been translated into English for, like, the first time. So I am reading a translation of it, and I don't have the historical, cultural context of, like, what this woman was about or going through, or, like, what she thought. I feel like I'd have to do more research to, like, really understand the intent of the author here, and I think that would help me get more out of this. Some of these are just, like, I don't know what they're trying to say, or, like, I'm interpreting it one way and it can't be right. I really like the speculative ideas here. Like, there's a story about, like, it's the future and Japan is putting people into cryosleep to, like, control the population, but theoretically you know, they'll wake up in the future and get to experience the future. And some people want to go into cryo sleep, and some people, like, you just basically get drafted into it. You get a slip that says you have to, and some people don't want to. Some people are skeptical that they'll be revived. And then while you're in cryo sleep, like, they can transfer your subconscious into someone else so that you can talk to them in their dreams. And our main character is like a bitch. This fucking awful, unlikable woman who has this friend who goes into cryo sleep and gets put into her dreams. And she doesn't even like this woman, but she's like talking to her and then sort of becoming her into dreams. I don't know. It's kind of weird. The idea is like really cool, but like, what is it saying? And like, is it executed to its fullest potential? I don't know. And then there's one about a family of monsters that can shapeshift, and they've shapeshifted into humans, but they've been humans so long that they forget they're monsters. Something interesting there for sure. I read this because the first story is super gay. It's about a dystopian world, utopian/dystopian world, dystopian world, where basically men don't exist. They stopped being born so often, and when they are born, they're like taken away to like labor camps. And the people in charge frame this as like a utopian society. They're like, men were the cause of all the wars and all the bad things that happened in the world, and now that women run it, everything is better. Except it's basically exactly the same. There's still like secret police, and if they suspect you of knowing a boy or harboring a male child, you'll get arrested and disappeared. Like, the roads are in disrepair. Like, there's no more television. Like, everything's just, like, gone to shit. And everyone's a lesbian. But our main character is this teenage girl who sees a boy. Like, she sees a boy walking around her neighborhood. And then she falls for him. They have I don't know. She realizes that this lesbian utopia she's been told is a lie. I don't know what this is trying to say, because it almost feels like, yeah, we do need men. Men are great. Men are valuable. Which, like, I'm not saying we don't want men in the world. I'm not saying we should take all the men away to labor camps. You know what I mean? And also, it's only been a couple of generations. Like, this woman's grandma remembers when there were men around, and so like, obviously society wouldn't have changed that much. Like, all of those cultural values and like traditions of like the way things are structured or were structured in that patriarchal society would like still be around. Like, that's not gonna go away immediately if you have people who still remember that and are just like clinging to the only way of life they've known. And so like, it's basically the same but worse. I don't know what this was going for. I don't know if it was trying to say that women can be bad too, which they can be. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't know if that's what the author was trying to say. This is a female author. I can't imagine she's just like anti-feminist or anything. I don't know. I didn't like it. It also felt like I was saying something about these women like being forced to be lesbians. I feel like there's no other options. And our main character also is like, yeah, I guess I'm attracted to this famous actress that all my friends are into. But then she meets the boy and she's like, I'm not really into that actress. I'm into this boy. And maybe that's some kind of metaphor for, you know, flipping the story on its head. Like, we're making all the gay kids in our society pretend to be straight, when really you should just let them have their own options and, you know, choose whatever they want is best for them. And maybe that's a positive. I don't know what this was saying. I don't know what's going on. I don't have the context. I don't know what the author was trying to say. I wasn't enjoying myself. And I am going to finish the collection. I'm not loving it. I don't know. I'm on a story right now. It's about, I don't know, just a person addicted to pills. I don't know what's going on. It's kind of a miss for me. But it's, I don't know. I guess it's like a cult classic. This author had some kind of cult following in Japan. It does feel like Japanese writing. I haven't read a lot of Japanese novels. It kind of reminds me a bit of Earthlings by Sayaka Murata, or like a couple of these stories did. But I like that book a lot better. That's a weird novel about a woman who thinks she's an alien. So I think this woman was like the mother of Japanese speculative fiction. Or like female speculative fiction. I don't know. I need to read more. It's not sticking for me, but it might work for someone else. But that's it. Some good books, some not so good books. That's the way it is. I have nothing else to say. Like and subscribe. Go read a book. Have a good day. Good night.